everybody, and welcome to WTF Hammer Underworlds. Today's video is going to be a Season 1 Warband balancing video looking at Magore's Fiends. And in the description below, I've linked the Magore's Fiends review video that I posted where I completely overviewed the fighter cards, the objective cards, and the power cards of this warband, and I came to draw the following conclusions. One, that they have many objective cards that promote taking enemy fighters out of action, and they also have solid damage dealing units, specifically when inspired. They also have many high tier ploy and upgrade cards that encourage and reward killing, especially by clustering, and this supports their aggressive playstyle. 3, they have a difficult inspiring mechanic requiring that they land a successful attack action, which is no guarantee, which can cause them to fail to reach their damage and movement potential. Although fortunately they do have an Inspire power card, which is nice. And finally, they follow a predictable charging playstyle, resulting in them lacking versatility and making them pretty predictable to play against and counter. So with all this in mind, I had rated this warband as a B, meaning that they're mid-tier, and if we want to make them stronger, we're going to have to give these guys an assist. So what I do in every video is I propose Errata Suggestions, which are changes that Games Workshop can make to their existing cards, to their existing rules in order to make them stronger, as well as new faction-specific cards that Games Workshop is eager to print out that could also help give this warband that assist they very much need. I'll be starting with the errata. My first suggestions are some objective card errata. Starting with all the better to slay them, it should be worth 2 glory points. It reads as follows. Score this immediately if all friendly fighters, at least 3, are adjacent to different enemy fighters. My justification is that power cards encourage having friendly fighters be adjacent to enemy fighters. This card rewards that approach further, which provides a nice synchrony there. It also boosts aggressive play, encouraging these guys to just spread out, attack, kill, slaughter, which is just cool. Next, I recommend that Khorne Sees Us be worth 2 glory points as well. So this card is a score immediately card if your warband takes 2 or more enemy fighters out of action in a phase. I mean, this is a high risk, high reward card. I've given similar suggestions to a similar card from different warbands. It would make this card worth including in a deck because getting 1 glory point after taking out 2 units is just not worth it. That's actually all I have to suggest for errata for this warband. So just to refresh your memories, the objective card errata that I suggest is that all too better to slay them be worth 2 glory point, as well as Khorne Sees Us, which should also be worth 2 glory points. So where the big changes come for these guys is in the new faction-specific cards that I'm going to be recommending. And like I do in every video, I'm just trying to justify how I'd recommend Games Workshop incorporate new faction-specific cards. And I basically recommend that they add enough cards to make Magore's Fiends play out of the box. So typically, valid decks require that you have 12 objective cards and 20 or more power cards, of which 10 must be Gambit, 10 must be Upgrade. You can have more Upgrade than Gambit cards, but not vice versa. Magore's Fiends has 10 objective cards, 10 Gambits, 11 Upgrades, which means they need 2 objective cards to have a valid deck. And then, of course, they should also have another Gambit card so that they have a 50-50 balance between Upgrades and Gambits. So obvious solution, create 2 useful objective cards and 1 useful Gambit card to overcome their shortcomings, which is namely their versatility. And my first suggestion here, and I'd recommend having some method of scoring glory that doesn't involve attacking. My recommendation would be a faction-specific Master of War, but instead of being worth 1 glory point, can be worth 2 glory points, can be called Adept in Warfare. Basically, a synonym of the existing name. So the way this card works is that you score this in an end phase if you scored an objective card, played a ploy, played an upgrade in this round. So this would just be nice to allow these guys to score a bit of passive glory, although they do need to be a bit aggressive in order to score that objective and equip that upgrade. My justification is that this would provide some good score in the end phase glory that doesn't require holding objectives, because I don't think this warband needs objective holding objective cards. It's also thematically appropriate for a warmongering warband to have a card that's about tactics in war. My next suggestion is a card that takes advantage of this warband's aggressive style, and I'd recommend a faction-specific advancing strike, which would be called Encroach and Kill. It would just benefit this warband for doing what it does best. A lot of this warband's score immediately cards are actually pretty hard to score. Advancing Strike would be a bit more reliable for them, and very appropriate. And also doesn't exist anymore since it was cycled out in Season 1. Next, my recommended ploy card for this warband would need to be a card to help this warband engage enemy fighters, because one of their struggles is reaching enemy fighters, especially enemy fighters that are specifically trying to avoid combat with these guys, knowing that this is a heavily aggressive warband. So I'd recommend a Magore's Fiends version of Call of the Grave, which we called Irresistible Taunt. So Call of the Grave is a faction-specific card for Lady Harrow's Mournflight, in which you choose an enemy fighter and push them up to 2 hexes towards a friendly fighter. This card is great. It can give this warband a much-needed control card to take an enemy and pull them towards you, maybe even if they're holding an objective, so it would really screw their plans. It also encourages aggression, allows you to get enemy units adjacent to your fighters. It just really fits with Magore's Fiends playstyle. So errata are summarized below. The new faction-specific cards I recommend are as follows. 2 new objective cards to have a valid deck. My recommendations are faction-specific Master of War worth 2 glory points, which could be called Adept in Warfare, and a faction-specific Advancing Strike called Encroach and Kill. And a new ploy, I'd recommend a Magore's Fiends version of Call of the Grave, which could be called Irresistible Taunt. So that does it for my video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, please comment below. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to encourage some discussion on balancing for Warhammer Underworlds. And I'm also trying to create a bit of hype around it to try to encourage Gabe's Workshop to maybe make efforts to better balance this game out, knowing that there are customers, there are players that are willing to buy the products they're willing to put out to help balance out old existing warbands that are becoming more and more irrelevant. So if you want to have those discussions, please do it in my comment section. And my next set of videos is going to be looking at Night Vault Season 2 since we officially finished Season 1. So thank you all for watching and have a nice day.